Hi, I'm Miss Hearn. Let's get started. So now let's see what happens when our relation is represented as an equation instead of as ordered pairs. So the same idea goes, we want to make sure that for each x, it matches up with only one y. Each input matches up with only one output. Each element of the domain matches up with only one element of the range, however you want to say it. But the way we check that is different because it's given to us in a different format. What you do is you solve for y in the equation. So in this case, that would mean subtracting x squared over to the other side. So y equals, you could either say negative x squared plus 36 or 36 minus x squared. But in any case, if I were to take a number, any number, if I say picked the number 1, then I would have negative 1 plus 36 is 35. I'd get one answer, right? The 1 would lead to the number 35. If I were to plug in 2, I'd get negative 4, which would give me 32. Negative 4 plus 36 is 32. It's never going to be the case that I get anything other than one answer. When you square a number, negate it, and then add it to 36, you always get one answer. So this is going to be a function. So you might say, Miss Hearn, won't that always happen when you have an equation and you solve for y? But the answer to that is no. Let's take a look at a situation where it would not happen. So here we have x squared plus y squared equals 49. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to solve for y, and that means, again, moving the x squared. So y squared equals negative x squared plus 49. And then y is not completely by itself yet, though, is it? It's squared. And remember, we use the square root property to get y by itself when it's being squared. So if y squared is equal to negative x squared plus 49, then y itself could be plus or minus the square root of negative x squared plus 49. So what does that mean? If x were chosen to be 1, for example, then that would mean that we would have negative 1 squared plus 49 is 48, and our answer would be plus or minus the square root of 48. We could simplify that, but to save time, I'm not going to, because I'm just trying to make the point that there are two results, a positive and a negative, as our output. So that's two outputs based on one input. And so if that can ever happen, this is not a function. It's not a good predictor. If I tell you the input is 1, you don't know which output I'm talking about. So this is not a function. And in fact, this will happen anytime you solve for y and you have a y squared here. In fact, it's going to happen anytime you have an even power on the y. Y will not be a function of x in that case. It's okay for x to have an even power. We saw that in the previous example, but it's not okay for y, because then that means that there's a single x that can give two answers, two outputs. If you think about it, there's another situation that we know about where you'd get more than one answer. So you got to watch out for that too. If you had something like absolute value of y, right? So if you were to solve this equation, you'd get absolute value of y equals 3 minus x, or negative x plus 3, however you want to write it. And this translates into two equations. To get rid of that absolute value, you would have to consider both cases. Either y is the positive version of 3 minus x, or y is the negative version of 3 minus x. And so two outputs, again, not a function. So those are the things you mostly want to look out for when y is raised to an even power, or y is in an absolute value. Then you do not have a function.
I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please remember to like it.